Hey there, so I am making this video to help you work through this practice test 43 RC passage about reader response theory. A couple things just to say right up front. The reason reading comprehension is difficult to help people with, I think, is because everybody reads so differently. So since I haven't observed you read and can't give you any direct feedback on what you're doing and not doing, and then really the only thing left that I can do is kind of show you how I read. But I want to make a caveat for you that the way you read is not necessarily wrong, and you don't even necessarily need to make huge changes to it. Probably there are some big wins that you can make just by making tweaks to what you're doing right now. But the way that you answer questions is definitely going to be informed by the way that you attack a passage. So I'm going to show you how I do it, and you can take what makes sense to you and what works and what doesn't seem like it's going to be reinventing the wheel for you, and you can leave the rest. So here we go. I have not read this before, so this will be a good demonstration for you, I think. Okay, reader response theory, a type of literary theory that arose in reaction to formalist literary criticism, has endeavored to shift the emphasis in the interpretation of literature from the text itself to the contributions of readers to the meaning of a text. So that's two changes. According to literary critics who endorse readership, this 1, this 2, and this 3. I want you to stop doing that. According to literary critics who endorse reader response theory, the literary text alone renders no meaning, acquires meaning. The text alone, number 1, renders no meaning. It acquires meaning only when encountered by individual readers who always bring varying presuppositions and ways of reading to bear, giving rise to the possibility and probability of varying interpretations. Okay, this brand of criticism has met opposition from the formalists who study the text alone and argue that reader response theory can encourage and even validate fragmented views of a work rather than the unified view acquired by examining only the content of the text. However, since no theory has a monopoly on divining meaning, the formalists' view appears unnecessarily narrow. All right, so we have this passage is about reader response theory versus this formalist interpretation, and the author seems to agree with this more. So reader response theory is that people have interpretations, and formalism is that there is an intent. I'm not sure that my 1, 2, 3 is actually meaningful in this case, but I should probably make a note of that, eh? Second paragraph, the proponents of formalism, so we're talking about the second one, argue that their approach is firmly grounded in rational objective principles, while reader response theory lacks standards and verges on absolute subjectivity. After all, these formalists argue, no author can create a work that is packed with countless meanings. The meaning of a work of literature, the formalists would argue, may be obscure and somewhat arcane, yet however hidden it may be, the author's intended meaning is legible within the work, and it is the critic's responsibility to search closely for this meaning. However, while a literary work, here's the split in the paragraph, while a literary work is indeed encoded in various signs and symbols, it must be translated for the work to be understood. It is not a map. Any complicated literary work will invariably raise more questions than it answers. What is needed is a method that enables a critic to discern and make use of the rich stock of meanings created in encounters between texts and readers. So this is the formalists, and this is the response of the author to them. Emphasizing the varied presuppositions and perceptions that readers bring to the interpretation of a text can uncover hitherto unnoticed dimensions. So one of the responses is that we can learn more by trying to place our own interpretations on things. In fact, many important works have received varying interpretations throughout their existence, suggesting that reader-based interpretations, similar to those described by reader response theory, had been operating long before the theory's principles were articulated. So they're kind of an argument that it's a natural way to read before we even kind of laid it out. And while in some cases critics' textual interpretations based on reader response theory have unfairly burdened literature of the past with contemporary ideologies, this is an anticipation of a counter-argument. Legitimate additional insights and understandings continue to emerge years after an ostensibly definitive interpretation of a major work has been articulated. Yeah. So they say sometimes it leads us astray, but there's always more that we can learn. By regarding a reader's personal interpretation of literary works as not only valid, but also useful in understanding the works, reader response theory legitimizes a wide range of perspectives on these works, and thereby reinforces the notion of them as fluid, lively forms of discourse that can continue to support new interpretations long after their original composition. Yeah. So the author likes reader response theory, says that we all bring something to what we read, and this formalist idea is kind of attempted to be discredited in this passage. Yeah, I mean, notice, I think the thing to notice about when I read a passage like this is how often I pause to comment, and I do that in my own head as well as when I'm reading aloud, because wrestling with what a passage is saying and trying to place your own interpretation on it and using that to argue your way through a passage rather than just try and receive what the author is giving you is a better way to understand and retain what you've read, in my opinion. Funny how that passage is a little bit meta like that. Okay, hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions, and good luck on your prep.